I'm Nick, and this is the Lian Li Vector V100. This is possibly the most affordable fish tank to date, coming in at just $59 US. Let's take a bit of a close look and see what makes the V100 tick. But before that, here's a word from today's video sponsor.
This video is brought to you by VIPSCDkey.com. Have you ever installed Windows 11 only to see the watermark of death? You don't need to fork out a couple of $100s for a key. You can grab one from today's video sponsor, from VIPSCDkey.com for a tenth of the price. You can use our code GEAR to get 30% off for this month only. How good is that? That takes that already cheap Windows 11 key and makes it even cheaper. It's easy as placing your order. Bingo bango. You've got your new key on your orders page. You chuck that key into the activation screen and you're good to go. No more watermark of death. Use code GEAR to get 30% off for this month only. Link in the description. On with the video. Back to you, Nick.
The Lian Li Vector V100 is a mid-tower dual tempered glass paneled case starting at just $59 US. In terms of the dimensions of the V100, it's around about 446 millimeters deep, around about 235.5 millimeters wide, and around about 485 millimeters high. Both of the tempered glass panels are 4 millimeter thick panels. Starting off with panel removal, there's a little notch on the backside edge. Put your thumb in the little notch, pop the top corner of the TG side panel away, and then what you want to do, guys, is lift the panel up and away from the case. That's right, I said the thing. To remove the top panel, there's two notches on the back edge. Push them up with your thumbs, and then you can lift that panel away from the case. And the rear panel is the same deal. There's a little notch. Put your fingers in it. You want to pop that panel up and then lift that up and then away from the case. Finally, removing the front panel, you just want to put your finger on the top edge once all the panels are removed, and then you can pop that top edge away and then lift that away from the case. There's two included dust filters on the V100. There's one on the top panel. It's kind of hard to see if you don't look for it, but this can be easily cleaned. You can just wipe all the dust away. And then there's also a dust filter on the bottom of the PSU shroud, which can be slid out via the back of the case. And this one can easily be removed and cleaned as well. Here's a little bit of a flex test to show you the rigidity of the V100. And for a $59 case, really not too bad whatsoever. As for the front I/O, there's two USB 3.0 Type A ports, there's a USB Type C port, there's a combined headphone and microphone jack, as well as a reset button and a power button. For wiring, there's a 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB connector for the built-in lighting strip, as well as an extension cable so you can extend the RGB. There's a USB Type-C cable, a front panel audio cable, a USB Type-A cable, and then the front panel connector, which is combined for all the lights and all the switches. And if you're curious to see what the RGB strip looks like, it looks a little something like this. This is a bit of a spoiler. There's a single screw at the front of the case to lift up this plastic panel, which then reveals a little platform. And if you're into figurines and that kind of stuff, there is a viewing platform, or rather a display platform at the front of the V100. As for motherboard support, it supports motherboards from ITX up to ATX, including back connector motherboards. And as you can see here, I decided to use a back connector board just to get the cleanest look possible with a build in the V100, because I think it just looks really, really nice here. Keep in mind though, the V100 will support both ATX and MATX back connector boards. If you're interested in the specs of the hardware, I'm using the Gigabyte B650E Aura Stealth Ice with the AMD Ryzen 9 9950X, as well as 64 gigs of G.Skill Triton Z5 Neo RGB, and a 4TB Samsung 9100 Pro. As for air cooler support, the V100 has a maximum supported height of 180.5 millimeters. That 0.5 is pretty important, right? As for power supply support, the V100 will support power supplies with a maximum length of up to 220 millimeters, including all of the cables and connectors coming out of your power supply. As for fan and radiator support, on the side, you can mount up to three 120mm fans. As you can see here, I'm using three 120mm fans. These ones here are the new Lian Li SL Infinity wireless fans, and these are the reverse pitch fans. These fans are set to intake from the side of the case. Intake is highly recommended for the side and not exhaust. On the top of the case, you can install up to three 120mm fans or two 140mm fans. As for radiators, you can do either a 360mm radiator or a 280mm radiator. What I'm installing at the top here is the Tri-X Panorama SE cooler with 3 of the new Lian Li SL Infinity wireless uni fans. These fans are set to exhaust, and that is the recommended fan configuration for the top of the case if you're liquid cooling. On the bottom of the case, well, rather on top of the PSU shroud, you can install up to 2 120mm fans. The fans, again, are the Lian Li SL Infinity wireless uni fans. These fans are reverse pitch fans. They are set to intake, and that is the orientation I would recommend if you're installing fans on the bottom of the case. This will give your GPU the best chance for optimal airflow. Do not set these to exhaust. Intake is a must. Finally, on the rear of the case, you can install either a 120mm fan or a 140mm fan. I would recommend setting the rear fan to exhaust, and again, I'm using an SL Infinity wireless unifan from Lian Li here. If you're looking at installing either a 2.5-inch SSD or a 3.5-inch spinning RAS drive, you've got 2 options, well, rather 1 option for each. So behind the motherboard tray, you can install a single 2.5-inch SSD on this removable sled, and at the bottom of the case, at the front, there's a single 3.5-inch hard disk mount as well. All of the mounting gear required is in the box with the case in the accessory kit. As for GPU support, the V100 will support GPUs up to 415mm in total length. The V100 does come with a GPU support bracket in the accessory kit with this case. The only reason why I'm not showing it installed here is because of this back connector board, and the support bracket uses the standoffs that you would use to mount your motherboard, and they screw in through the motherboard here. And this is something that I realized much later after already building the system, and I didn't want to have to swap the motherboard out, but I did think it was worth mentioning. But yes, it does include a GPU support bracket that will require you to use the motherboard mounting to support the GPU. The GPU is the Aorus Master GeForce RTX 5090 OC. If you're looking at installing a vertical GPU bracket in the V100, it is possible using most of the brackets on the market because all the slot covers are removable and there's no support bracing between each of the slots, making it very, very easy to do that if you like. In terms of cable management here, it took me about 7 minutes in total to cable manage this whole system, and that includes me plugging in every single cable required to get this system up and running. For the cable management itself though, there's plenty of tie downs that come with the case, as well as this nice little cable channel for the EPS power cables. It uses the same plastic clips we've seen on a lot of Lian Li cases over the last few years. As mentioned, there's plenty of Velcro tie downs for your 24-pin power cable. All the cable pass-throughs from the front side of the case to the back side of the case are very large. Because this does support back connector boards, the cable pass-throughs for the 24-pin power cable are excellent here. A lot of cables have seen a few issues with being able to unclip them on the backside for the back connector boards, but this is not a problem on the V100 whatsoever. I thought it was worth mentioning that the cable pass-throughs on the bottom of the motherboard tray from the back or the bottom to the front are very large and very easy to pass cables through. Even though I didn't need to use them, you can get a bit of an idea here. There are no grommets, and typically on cases that support back connector motherboards, there won't be grommets because they don't really require them if they're using the same cable pass-through holes as the back connectors themselves, which we are seeing become quite commonplace on cases that do support back connector motherboards. Overall, the experience of building in the V100, the build quality, and the overall execution for $59 is looking very impressive. But you know what time it is, guys? It's time to power it up and give you some of that spicy B-roll. And then we'll talk about the thermals, because they're probably going to be better than you expect. Play that funky music, homie. Okay, let's take a little bit of a look at the thermals here with the V100. What you're seeing on your screen right now is the thermals are not too bad at all. In fact, they're a lot better than I anticipated, but given that this case has quite a lot of intake, being 5 intake fans in total, there are no surprises here. So yeah, nothing too exciting to report, but let us know what you think about these cheaper cases. I'm curious to get your feedback on this kind of stuff. For me personally, I see that these cases become very, very popular based on the price point. At only $59 US, there's not a lot wrong with this case. You have to be really mindful of who this case is targeting. It's targeting system integrators and people who don't want to spend a whole bucket load of money on a case. And I think Lian Li has done a pretty good job with this case here. But if you're interested in any of the hardware, there's little things on the screen as we put everything in the system to let you know what all of that is. But let's dive a little bit more into some of my thoughts on the V100. Now, this is a budget case, $59 US. There is another version that's a little bit more expensive with included fans, but just keep in mind, this one here is $59 US. And I've got to say, for $59 US, with an included RGB strip, this is some of the best build quality that I've seen from a case in a very, very long time. Now, you guys may or may not know this, but not really into the whole fish tank aesthetic, but I think that this one is done very, very well. And again, I'm gonna say it, $59 US. It's an insane price for a case of this quality. It's got a lot of compatibility, especially with 360mm liquid cooling up the top. You've got 3 120mm fan intakes on the side, and you've also got that intake on the bottom, well, rather on the top of the PSU shroud. Again, let us know your thoughts on cases like this, because to be honest, video views and all that stuff on YouTube doesn't really tell the whole story. The truth is, it's you guys who tell us what's really going on when it comes to purchasing cases like this. I gotta say, if a friend was to come to me and say, hey, I wanted that fish tank aesthetic, I didn't want to spend too much money on a case, what case should I get? I think the Vector V100 is looking up there. It's definitely worth the money. There's honestly not that much wrong with this case. Well, in fact, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, especially for $59 US. I gotta say, Lian Li, it's good to see that you're really trying to smash and attack that budget-conscious buyer. So good work, Lian Li. It's not terrible. If you're interested in the music that you hear here on the channel, it's me. I make all the music. You can listen to it by clicking the join button down below. And that's going to do it. I'm Nick, and we did some seeking of gear today. Thanks for watching.